stun, aftershock left, then flash here, and then play with knives. I think this is also decent. Anyways, hello everybody and welcome to another video on Valorant Breach Guides. And today's video is going to be about Abyss. I'll preface this video by saying that I'm going to share the most interesting plays and the positions that I would play, although there are a lot of different ideas that you can experiment on your own. I'll also say that some of these ideas look like they're solo ideas where you're just doing something on your own, but it's always encouraged that you do this with a team. So you coordinate utility and you coordinate what you're going to do with your team. So yeah, starting with A. Basically, you can always just start with this. The barrier drops here. Stun, aftershock left, then flash here. This is aftershock. People here are flashed, and whoever is close, they're stunned and they're not peeking. Other ways you can do this is same stun, then you can flash right away, then flash here. And again, you should call your teammates to push with you. So this way you have more timing on this person here. Of course, from this position as well, sometimes I like to stun the person who's taken orb. So you can always stun this, aftershock this, and then flash. Right? So the person taking orb has to leave. They get stunned, so they might take damage. They might not, but they're probably running away. And as they're running away, they get flashed. So it's kind of easy this way. The same aftershock is good if you're playing against the Gecko. When I know that they have a Gecko ult, I'm holding my aftershock and I'm waiting for Gecko to ult. You can always start here. For example, if you need to play mid for whatever reason and your teammates want to take aiming control, so you can always start here, stun left, stun right or left depending on what your teammates call. On A defense, sometimes if you want to play passively, you can do this. You can just wait for the enemy team to execute. As soon as they use any util or you hear them executing, then you can always stun this. And it's a perfect stun because it gets the whole choke. So what I would do is stun this, then flash and peek. Of course, I expect this to be smoked. So anybody who's in front of the smoke and they're stunned and they're possibly flashed, they're really easy kills. If it's not smoked, then I would pick it differently. So flash and then slowly peek, clear all of these angles. If for whatever reason you're playing very passively, off the top of my head that would be, let's say you have your team stacking 4 players on B and you're alone on A and you have your ult, right? Even if you don't have your ult, you should not die to the site. You should give the site, try to get a pick and then leave the site. So if you're, for example, here and the enemy team is planting, you can always stun the plant and then aftershock in mid. If you're playing mid, I wouldn't aggress as a breach because it's a very wide area unless you ask for smokes. But in mid you can always be supportive to your teammates. If your teammates are holding angles or something, you can always have your stun ready. You can stun upper side or you can stun lower side. You can always aftershock. This is tough because there's a huge distance, so you have to step a bit closer. Or you can aftershock this if you know that they're droning or doing something. You can also aftershock this if you need to. If you know that the enemy Sova, for example, drones from the spot, you can always do this. Or at the start of the round, you can always walk down here and be ready to flash. You have a teammate, for example, here or somewhere. And as soon as they see someone or as soon as you hear people close, flash and fight. Of course, I would expect this to be smoked. If not, then I'm holding this and then flash. Like I said, I wouldn't aggress mid as a breach because the soul space is too wide and breach excels in narrow areas. But you can always be useful to your team. So if you have a Jet or a Neon or somebody who's rushing mid and the whole play on your team, let's say you're on an eco round and your team wants to push. So what you can do is you can always start, for example, you can stun this at the start of the round, then immediately flash here and then flash here. Or you can always start with a flash at the beginning of the round, then follow it with a flash under. And these flashes are good because this flash gets people here and this flash gets the same people as well as people peeking from this side. Now on to A. On A, it's a bit harder because there's this whole area is too long. It's too hard for you to push, but it's also too hard for the enemy to push. So as a breach, you can always stun this line. You can also play from here and stun this line perfectly, but I wouldn't. As a breach, I'd like to be more active. So stun this line, then you can always flash this, peek, fight. And now, if for example you have a Sova with you, you're playing double initiator setup, and you wanna, and Sova has ult, so you wanna ult B main. You have a call, you have a hunch that the enemy is gonna push B main. So at the start of the round, you can always stun this line and then Sova ults this. You can play on top of books or library. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know what people call it. I hear a lot of different callouts, but you can play here basically, and you can always flash this if you need to, or you can always kind of fake it a bit, flash from here, peek from top. From here you can always aftershock this side if you have a teammate holding here and you know someone is there, so you can do this aftershock. This is gonna force the enemy member who's here to either peek from this side or from right side, and if you have a teammate holding here, they have a decent chance of taking that fight easily. You can also do this, but I don't know why you would need that, but just in case you need to, I don't know. Sadly, you can't like aftershock from this whole area, and it would be kind of stupid if you could. You can also do it better and do it from here, because Sova's probably gonna draw from here, so you can start here. That's better. If you need to aftershock left side, you know Sova, or they have maybe a Guka ult or something, then it's better for you to start here and then aftershock this angle. Most of the time people are gonna be here when they're droning or Guka ulting or doing something. Now if you're gonna play aggressive, I would also start from here. The barrier kind of drops around this area, so you can always start with this stun, or you don't need to. So if you want to start with the stun, then you go with this stun, flash left side, then flash this side, dodge the flash and fight. Or if you're not stunning, so what I would do is sometimes I would just hold this, and I would have a teammate from here holding and looking, and I have a smoke nest. So as soon as my teammate who's holding this angle sees anybody, I flash, take a fight, fall back, and flash again, take a fight. You can also help your teammates aggress if you have a jet or raise that wants to push up here. So you can always either stun or flash for them, or you can just flash for them based on the timing that they require. And you can always kind of play around here. I wouldn't really advise, but it's always an idea, just in case you need to. You can hold here as soon as your teammates spot people. You can flash and fight. I would go for this fight, so I would do this flash only if I see somebody here on the minimap, and then I fight, and then I would fall back. I don't know, I really hate this fight here. If you don't have movement agent like Jet or Euro or somebody who can run away easily, I wouldn't really go for that fight. But it's always an idea. You can always kind of play around here. I think actually this is a better idea. So if you're playing around here, let's say you ask your Jet to play here, and then you're holding your stun. You just have to warn any teammate that you have here not to get stunned. So you have to ping for them exactly where they should stand. And so, I don't know, you play it on timing, you play it on a drone or a dart, something, some information, or maybe a cipher cam, something. Anyways, I think this stun is good, and I have to be honest, this is the first time I'm thinking about this, and I think it's a decent idea. Let me see. Standing here is not bad. I honestly cannot lie. I think this might be a good plan. You can even have a Jet standing here, so if they have knives, they can updraft and then dash here and then play with knives. I think this is also decent. Anyways, I think this is cool. You can do this and stun this line, and you can also flash for your teammate. So if they're here, let's say they're here, you call your stun, they peek, and then you flash behind as well, so they don't get full flashed, but the enemy team gets full flashed. So if somebody was not stunned and they run in, so let's imagine you're the enemy team, You see your teammates get stunned and they're hiding here, they're running away. You peek and then you get flashed. So I think this is cool. You should always try to be more helpful, not just use like one stun and expect your teammates to get like 5 kills. And now on to attack. I'll start with B, and I'll say, depending on what you know about your enemy. If you know that they like to play aggressive and take fights, you should probably start around here every time and stun this line. Just simply, as soon as the barrier drops, do this stun, go up. If you need to, you can flash and take a fight with your team. If you know that the enemy team is not aggressing and they're playing passively on defense, so you can always hold this stun line, and this is good because you want to get the person who's here, because this is a tough angle to clear, and you want to get people who are hiding here. If somebody is on top of the boxes, I think that's an easy angle. Your teammates should be able to clear that on their own, so you shouldn't worry about that. I would worry about this more than I would worry about this. So this is a good stun line. You can always kind of play it from this angle as well, and this would get people in tower. So it depends on where you want to stun, but this would not get people who are on this small box. So it's always up to you and depending on what you know about your enemy. If I'm playing to push with my team, so again, I'll do just this stun and then this flash and then this flash. I can aftershock this, we can take fights, or I could simply just go this, then aftershock first, then flash, flash. I feel like a lot of breach players are so slow with their utility that it becomes useless. And I don't know if you've watched any of my videos or if this is the first one, but I've always played breach like this and it has always worked. Basically, I'm always pressing keys for utility, right? As soon as I stun, before the animation cancels, I'm always pressing, for example, if I know I want to aftershock, I'm pressing C. I'll press C like 20 times. I'm pressing Q. I'm pressing Q again. So I'm always trying to kind of string together all of my utility into a singular kind of execute. And I've learned that the hard way, basically grinding all the way from, I don't know, bronze to immortal 1. I've learned that I am the one who's supposed to do everything for the team. And I have to be honest, that's how it feels probably for 90% of Valorant players. You kind of have to IGL, sometimes you have to execute, sometimes you're the initiator and you have to enter the site and do all of this kind of stuff. So I learned that when you want to use your util as a breach, you want to kind of use it as fast as possible and allow your enemy as little time to react as possible. And now speaking on executing, if you are the one who's expected to enter the site for whatever reason, I would forget about this stun. As soon as the round starts, I'm stunning this, I'm aftershocking left, flashing here, and then I'm fighting. And basically what you did is that you stunned the person who plays on top of this and the person who plays under. If they run back here and if they drop, this is aftershock or aftershocked, so they have to run back. And then you flashed here. So if for whatever reason they come back to take the angle, they get flashed. If they're fighting from here, they also get flashed. For post plants on B, you can either play passively or aggressively. I always like the aggressive plays, to be honest. They're just fun. So you can always play all the way from here. You can play with your teammates or play alone. It depends on situations. Sometimes if you want to have fun, kind of like in a throwy or kind of trolling way, you don't call for your team. You don't want to lose the round, basically. But also sometimes when you are at a disadvantage and you want to even the numbers out. So let's say you're in a 2v3 or a 2v4. So you call for your teammate and you play together based on noise or based on timing. You can flash, take a fight. From here you can also stun this or stun this. You can always aftershock if you need to, and the same goes for here. You can add a lot of delay basically. if you don't want to fight, you can just sit here, and if you know two people are mad, you can just delay them, just make their lives miserable. And honestly, don't even fight, just do this. And you just made their day worse, for way worse. So you can always just use your util for delay. You can play post plant from here. So you can, sometimes I would play here and I would hold this. Of course I would have somebody watching my back, and if I don't have anybody and I want to hold this, then I play here, so my back is covered. And as soon as I hear noise and I know nobody's jumping on top of the books, so I can always flash this. And this flash is very good against basically everybody. You can also play from here, basically flash and peek. And one of the interesting ideas that I like doing is you can always flash the ground, right? The ground that they're walking on, you can always do that flash. So if you have a teammate here, you flash for them and they peek and they take a fight. If you're splitting B, then the very first thing that I want to do here is sit here, my stun ready, and as soon as my team is close around here, then I stun for them. I can either stun this or deeper here, depending on what I see on the minimap, or what my teammates call. If they call that they're pushing or something, then I might actually go all the way here and stun this, just so this person peeking, they get stunned, and then my teammates, let's say here, they have an easy fight. Or if they're not doing anything and they're playing passively, then I wait for my teammates to get all the way close here, and I might even actually go all the way in here and stun this, so anybody who's holding from this gets stunned. Or if your teammates are contacting all the way, then I'm just sitting here and I'm waiting until I see somebody on the minimap, and then I stun. So if I see someone here or here, then I stun. Again, if you're expected to be the one who's doing the entrying and taking space, so I would start with my stun ready and stun this as soon as the round starts, and then I would go in like this, and then you can do this, right? If you're the one who's expected to take mid control, then I would take it like this. You don't need to use all of this util, but if you know that the enemy team likes to fight mid, then I would use a lot of util on mid. If I know that they don't fight mid, then just simply walk. If you're taking mid silently, or if you took mid just with an omen smoke here and an omen smoke here, let's say, then you can just always use this flash and then this flash to take the space. Or from this spot you can stun this, then flash this, and then flash here. Again, you can always go up heaven, you can always aggress even more, right? It all depends on what you need in that specific round. The only thing I've learned about Valorant is that it's never static, right? It's never just like one play guarantees you to win rounds. That's never gonna happen. It's a dynamic game by nature. Your enemy team also have 5 players and they also have brains. Sometimes not all of them, but jokes aside, they're gonna see that you're doing something and they're gonna adapt. Just like you adapt, they also adapt. So you should always expect the enemy team to change something. If, for example, you killed the player here 2 times when you split B, you should expect this player not to be here the 3rd time, right? If they're here, maybe 4th round, they're not gonna be here. You should always kind of adapt. Even if you don't see the enemy team is doing something, you should always keep in mind that the enemy team might adapt or do something differently. And you also adapt, right? So a lot of different ideas come to you basically in every game on its own, and you have a lot of freedom as a breach player to do a lot of different stuff. Sometimes you might go all the way into spawn, right? And that's viable. If you know that, let's say 3 players are here, then maybe try to go and get the kills. You and 3 players of your teammates, you're pushing and you say, hey, go spawn, and you fight spawn, right? You can even go all the way here if you need to. And now for A attack, I would say this is just OP. Every single round you want to push A and you know that the enemy team has an AWPer or an aggressive agent like a Jet, like a Euro or somebody, you can always, as soon as the round starts, charge your Aftershock until around this area. You don't want to charge it all the way through, so like this. You can also do this flash if you need to be sure that nobody's here, because you know the stun takes a bit of time to take effect, so somebody could walk here. So the flash kind of guarantees, even if they did, then they're gonna get flashed, or if they dodge the flash, then your teammates are already peeking. That's gonna be one of the dynamic variables, right? Depending on what you know about your enemy team, you know how to use your util. Anyways, start like this. Let's say I'm not using my flash here, then I'm flashing backside. I like this flash, basically it gets people front side. It's not gonna get this, that's why when I'm scaling this way, just making sure nobody's holding these ratty angles. And this flash backside is for my Jet. Most of the time I'm playing with a Jet, and my Jet is smoking this or on top of this box and dashing here. If I know the enemy team likes to play ratty angles, then I can always do this Aftershock. If I know that the Cypher player, for example, plays here, or the Deadlock plays here, then I can always start the round with this Aftershock. So let's say I stun, then I Aftershock here. So this gets any trips. I can also start the round like this. Instead of this stun being like this, I can stun right side and then Aftershock here. If you know that the enemy team likes to have a player here, this player is in a very bad spot because they get stunned and they get Aftershocked, and if they peek, you get a kill. Even if you get smoked, you should always spam. Just stand here. After you Aftershock, I don't know, count 1, 2, and then spam. You can also do this. So you can, for example, if you're taking contact and you're walking slowly and nobody's peeking, so you can always just sit here, hold your stun ready, and as soon as your teammates call we're executing, stun, then flash. You can also Aftershock. You stunned the whole line, and then you flashed for anybody peeking anywhere aggressively, and then you should Aftershock this. Yeah, this is better. So anybody is here should be Aftershocked so they cannot peek. For post plants, again, if I want to play aggressive, I can always just sit here, wait for contact or wait for noise or timing, and flash, take a fight. Or I can play all the way in here, and as soon, let's say I have a player on top of these boxes, then as soon as they see someone, I can flash. Me and my teammate have a decent chance of killing this person here. Another idea, and I've showed this in Split, and you can also do this in Abyss. So what you can do is, you can do this on site execute, or you can do this on post plants, or any kind of weird use case if you're defending and you know somebody's here. So in any use case that you might need, this is a very nice idea. And the whole point is you want to flash this, but at the same time you are like mid-air and you're close to taking rope, and it looks like this, right? So this is very nice because the timing is on your side, and basically what happens is as soon as you take the rope and you're on top, your flash has already hit. You don't get flashed, and the enemy team has to dodge, right? But as soon as they dodge, you're already here, and you know you have a good timing on taking that fight and killing them. Said, please let me know if I missed any ideas that you think I should have covered, or if I maybe glossed over some details that you think are important to how you should play the map. I try to keep this short because if I'm gonna explain all of the different ideas and the reasoning behind them and all of the different setups, then that's gonna take, I don't know, an hour or maybe even longer. So I try to keep this short. If you liked the video, please hit like. If you didn't like it, please hit dislike. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.